Hi everyone, I'm Antos from Kokoon. What if I told you there was a way you could halve your risk of getting cancer, you make yourself a more attractive, better version of yourself, you can be a happier person, you could reduce your risk of getting dementia, and you could generally live a more fulfilled life. Well, the funny thing is that this solution, this wonder drug, is with us already. It occupies a third of our lives, yet it's still a struggle for all of us. This thing is sleep, and this is what we try and tackle. What we really seek to do is look at the 50% of the population that's struggling with sleep, and we look at the clinical treatments which are only being treated for about 2% of the population. And what we're really trying to do at Kokoon is take that clinical technology, take that clinical science and knowledge, and make it more accessible to your everyday consumer. So how do we do that? It's actually quite simple. Audio is our solution. So audio has been clinically validated in a lot of different studies to help the mind relax and switch off. And CBTI programs have about 50 different studies showing their effectiveness in helping people understand what their issue is and helping them address these challenges. In addition, what we have done is basically developed a device called the Kokoon Relax Headphone. Within this headphone we have EEG sensing, we have motion sensing, and we have environment sensing. And what we're really trying to do with this is close the feedback loop. So audio is, as I mentioned before, this wonderful tool for helping the mind switch off, helping it use cognitive techniques to unwind and understand what's going wrong. And what we can do with our sensor technology is work out really what's working, what's actually helping, what's proving effective. And this helps us in two ways. So in real time, we can automatically adapt. So as you're falling asleep, we can adapt to the audio that you're listening to. We can bring in white noise to block out any disturbances. And we can, over time, also learn what's effective. And this is probably the most powerful thing that we can do, is really understanding on a kind of individual level, this is what's effective for you. And then on a macro level, we can really understand just how different audio is able to help. And really our system has been developed with guys at St Thomas's sleep clinic in London, and what we've built with them is a series of programs to help people understand their sleep and tackle that issue. And we've also worked on different relaxation techniques to help them switch off and relax. And as I mentioned, these techniques are adaptive in real time to the data that we're getting, and then over time they're becoming more personalised for the individual. So this model is quite simple. We sell a device. The device costs about €399. We have margins about 65%, and then we have a software subscription model. So for this content that we've developed, users can subscribe and get access to essentially the most effective audio to help them switch off. Our team is a kind of quite experienced team. So we have the UK Chair of Sleep Science, Professor Adrian Williams. So he's the clinical director of Guys at St Thomas's, and we work with a number of his staff to build up the treatments that we serve people within the device. We've also got Gareth Jones, who launched Fitbit in Europe, so he's devising our go-to-market strategy. So he was the general manager of Fitbit in Europe, and then we've got Hussein, who is the CEO of Imagination Technologies, and created the Pure Audio brand, who gives us a lot of advice also on breaking into the market. And the market is something that we've broken into quite successfully to date. So we've done about 3.9 million in pre-order sales. And
all right.
Oh, yep. Okay. Sorry.
Okay, we'll open up for questions now. 5 minutes of questions.
Can you share with us some of the clinical validation that you mentioned?
Yeah, so we don't try and do anything new from a scientific perspective. What we try and do is take what's already been validated, what's already been proven, and package it out for consumers. So there's quite a lot of, there's over 50 different studies that we reference on various ways of helping. And essentially what we do is really make them all easily digestible and packaged up in a kind of readily accessible format for consumers. So we're not really trying to tackle, you know, a new science in helping the people sleep. What we're trying to do is package up existing science and essentially put data around that, if that makes sense. So we do have a clinical trial scheduled for probably later this year, which we've just secured that Innovate UK grant for. But we really that's not our kind of core aim of what you're trying to do. It's all about taking what's already out there and making it easily digestible for consumers.
Starting with the end, exit the strategy, what would be basically an acquire, an exit multiplier be?
Yes, so there's been quite a bit of activity in our space of late. So Apple recently acquired Edit, there's also acquisitions of Withings, etc. Those exit multiples have been between around 2.9 to 16 times earning multiples. So yeah, I mean, we've been approached by quite a few big companies, so the Sonys of this world, Philips, etc., and we'll really look to exit that kind of large tech player, if that makes sense.
And apart from execution, what is the barrier to entry?
So we have patents, so we have 6 patents, one of them granted, 5 pending. The content that we're developing, we're building a database of how effective it is, and that database is essentially feeding itself.
Yeah, last question. I think everyone would like to know why you have a big one and not something in the ear, because you're supposed to sleep, right?
Yeah. So that's all on the way that we make it comfortable. It's actually harder to get it comfortable in the ear. And the way that we do that is we spread the pressure around the ear and let the pillow mold around the head, so that the pressure is not just on the ear, it's spread evenly around the head as well, if that makes sense.
We can take about 2 more questions.
Can you say something about competition?
Yeah, so Bose is introducing a kind of in-ear kind of quiet white noise machine, which isn't a headphone, it's not a connected device. There's a company called Dream who are doing kind of neurostimulation via audio. There's no direct competitors. If I was to kind of position ourselves, I'd say we're a little bit of a kind of headphone product plus maybe a Calm or Headspace product mixed with a little bit of a Fitbit. That's kind of the space we're in. So there's no real direct competitors, but there's lots of people around us addressing similar things.
The typical use case is to use it while sleeping or also on the airplane?
So our core use case is helping people fall asleep. That's where we're really at our strongest. So helping you relax and switch off and unwind and fall asleep. That's the big challenge that a lot of people are out there. We find people are buying frequent travellers, people that have noisy neighbours, snoring partners, they're just stressed, can't unwind. So we find that whole spectrum buys the product.
30 seconds, yeah.
Have you looked into any possibilities of collaboration, maybe with the NHS or private insurers like Bupa? Is there any sort of interest from their side, or do you see that in the future?
Yeah, I mean, that's very much in the future. So once we've done our trials, that's some of the discussions that we've been having with people like Bupa, AXA. What's really important to us, though, is that we always wanted to start with the consumer, because personally I experienced insomnia, went into a sleep clinic, cost me a lot of money to go in there, and only kind of 2 to 1% of the sufferers of sleeping problems ever get treated. So we're really looking at that big uncertain mass of people that aren't getting any help, aren't getting any advice, and that's really where we want to position ourselves.
All right, thank you very much.